We treat AI like a vending machine. You put one prompt in, you get an answer out, and then you walk away.
Yeah, it's totally transactional.
Right. Most of us just use it as a search engine. But what if we stopped treating it like that? What if we started treating it like a fully integrated business partner?
It completely shifts your baseline, really, for what is even possible. When you stop seeing these tools as, just conversational text generators, the horizon just expands. You are no longer just asking questions. You are building autonomous systems.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring 5 essential connectors today. Tools that fundamentally rewrite how Claude operates.
Yeah, it's an exciting one.
Our mission today is to examine how layering very specific tools transforms this AI. From a simple chatbot into, well, a comprehensive operating system.
Exactly.
We are unpacking Higgsfield, Clay, Gmail, Supabase, and Zapier. We will explore the actual mechanics of how Claude can create marketing assets, scrape highly targeted leads, draft emails, and even manage live backend databases.
Yeah, and the key word there really is layering.
Yeah.
I mean, isolated tasks are fine for saving a few minutes here and there.
Right.
But connecting these workflows, that is how you build a digital employee that actually works while you sleep.
So let's unpack this from the ground up. We have to start with a core structural limitation. Claude is incredibly smart when analyzing text or code, but natively, it is visually blind.
Completely blind.
It cannot generate images on its own. It cannot natively call visual APIs to render graphics. So if we want a true business system, we need to give Claude a creative eye.
Right.
We need it to design and iterate on visual assets without you ever leaving the chat interface.
Which is a massive hurdle for any marketing or product team. Like, a text-only assistant just hits a wall the second you need a thumbnail. Or an ad creative. Or, a product mock-up.
It just stops.
Exactly. Usually, that is the exact moment you have to break your workflow. You switch tabs, you open Midjourney or Photoshop, you generate the asset, you download it, and then you drag it back into your workspace.
Yeah.
It just kills your momentum.
Yeah. And that is exactly the friction our first connector resolves. Higgsfield bridges this visual gap. But I really want to understand the actual mechanics here. How do we get a text model to manipulate visual files directly on our machine?
Well, so the setup relies on creating a localized, secure environment.
Okay.
First, you are using the Claude desktop app, not the web browser.
Yeah.
You create your Higgsfield account, grab their MCP URL, and plug that directly into Claude's connector settings. But here is the crucial mechanical step.
What's that?
You have to create a dedicated workspace folder on your actual hard drive.
Right.
And you give Claude explicit permission to read and write inside that specific folder.
Oh, I see. So it needs a physical destination to dump the files it generates.
Right. It isn't just rendering an image in the cloud and showing you a quick preview. It is writing the actual file to your local machine.
That's fascinating.
So when you prompt it to create an image, the workflow stays entirely inside the chat window. But the asset lives right there on your desktop.
The sources highlighted a really clean example of this in action. The user entered a simple prompt. They asked for an image of the Empire State Building flying a New York Knicks flag.
Yeah, that was a great demo.
And Claude generated the image right there in the interface. But then rather than downloading it to crop it manually, they just told Claude to edit the image to show more of the building's architecture.
The spatial reasoning required for that is honestly incredible. I mean, Claude has to understand the mathematical boundaries of the image it just called from Higgsfield.
Right.
It has to calculate what more of the building actually means in terms of pixel expansion, and then it executes the revision. You prompt, you review, and you revise all in one single continuous loop.
It is like handing a brilliant copywriter a camera and an editing studio. They never have to leave their desk to get the final cut.
Totally. And that workflow scales beautifully into much more complex tasks. Take the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 use case they mentioned.
Right, that was interesting.
The creator took some raw product photos. They gave Claude those photos along with a link to the official product web page.
So it is actively reading the live web page to pull the technical specification.
Exactly. It scrapes the URL. It extracts the battery life, the sensor size, the resolution data. Then, using Higgsfield, it arranges your raw photos.
Wow.
It applies a custom design skill to blend that extracted text with the visuals. It generates a polished, brand-aligned infographic. It completely automates the heavy lifting for your content team.
That is incredibly impressive. But here is where it gets really interesting for me. The sources dive into advanced user-generated content, or UGC.
Oh, yeah, the video stuff.
Yeah. They used Higgsfield's Soul 2 model to create a perfume video ad. Now, the most notorious issue with AI video is that the person morphs. They change in every single shot. But here, they kept a perfectly consistent AI character across multiple angles.
Character consistency is pretty much the holy grail of AI video generation. Typically, the latent space shifts too much between generations.
Right, the face gets weird.
Yeah, the person's face structure or the lighting subtly changes. But the Soul 2 model solves this by strictly anchoring the visual parameters. It basically forces the AI to map every new generation against a stable, underlying wireframe of that specific identity.
Does the AI actually maintain the same character identity across multiple video scenes?
It does. It maps the visual traits so tightly that no matter the camera angle or the prompt variation, the person looks exactly the same every time.
Yes, it locks in the character identity.
Exactly.
That alone is a game changer for brand building. But let's look at the broader system. Visual assets are just the ammunition.
Right.
Now that Claude can create these marketing materials natively, it needs targets. It needs someone to actually send these assets to.
Which forces a transition in our system architecture. We have to move from creative generation to highly targeted analytical research.
And that introduces our second connector, Clay. We're moving from the creative studio into the research lab. Clay acts as the ultimate contextual lead researcher.
If you look at traditional lead generation, it is a deeply fragmented, painful process. You start with a Google search.
Yes.
You bounce over to LinkedIn to verify the person still works there. You cross-reference that against a CRM spreadsheet. You check Crunchbase for funding. It is endless tab switching and manual data entry.
But instead of manually connecting those dots, Clay stops the endless tab switching entirely. You just issue a command, and Claude pulls the enriched data straight into the chat.
It handles all the API calls in the background. You ask for a list of targets, and Clay reaches out to dozens of data providers simultaneously. It pulls names, current job titles, verified locations.
But the sources noted it goes much deeper than basic contact info. It is pulling funding rounds, it is scraping their current tech stacks, it is identifying revenue models, and even reading recent news articles about the company.
That contextual depth is what separates a spam list from a targeted pipeline. The sources break down a great example of this. The user was running a creator agency. They needed to find top AI companies located in San Francisco.
But Claude didn't just dump a list of random AI startups. It found the specific marketing directors and growth leads at those target companies.
Because the integration allows Clay to store your unique business context. It acts as an external memory bank for your ideal customer profile, your ICP.
Right.
It already knows the specific services your agency provides. So it uses that framework to evaluate the leads before it ever presents them to you.
I have to offer a vulnerable admission here. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, where the AI suddenly forgets my target audience. You get 20 messages deep into a conversation, and suddenly it is suggesting leads that make zero sense for your niche. It is incredibly frustrating.
Oh, context windows definitely have limits.
Yeah.
As the conversation gets crowded with new data, the AI inherently loses the thread of the original instructions.
Yeah.
But Clay acts as an immovable anchor. Because your ICP is stored securely in Clay's backend, Claude is forced to reference that external business logic before executing any new search.
So it isn't just scraping random emails, it's actually applying my specific business context.
It is. It looks at your unique offering and only pulls the exact people who would actually buy from you based on that specific criteria.
Right. It filters leads using your specific business goals.
Exactly.
That saves literally hours of manual vetting. So let's look at where we are. We have the visual assets. We have a highly curated, deeply researched list of leads from Clay.
We're building a machine.
We are. But here is the structural trap. If we automate the outreach and the message sounds like it was written by a generic robot, the entire system collapses.
Trust is the most fragile currency in cold outreach. I mean, people can spot an AI-generated email a mile away. The cadence is wrong. The vocabulary is just unnatural.
I push back heavily on the idea that AI can easily write good copy out of the box. Most AI emails miss the mark completely.
Yeah, they do.
They use words like delve or testament. They sound overly formal, bizarrely chipper, and completely fake. If we are sending these out, we need a way to connect Clay's research directly to our actual human voice.
Which brings us to the third crucial layer of the stack, the Gmail connector. This is your voice-matched communicator. It bypasses the AI's default tone entirely.
The mechanics of this are fascinating. The connector lets Claude search your actual inbox and prepare drafts directly in your account. But the real linchpin here is the email voice skill. How does that practically work?
It is essentially an advanced pattern recognition task. Claude runs a query on your sent folder. It pulls 10 to 20 emails that you wrote to real people.
Okay.
And it isn't just looking at the words, it is analyzing your syntax.
Mhm.
It notes whether you use bullet points or short paragraphs. It captures your typical greetings. Like, do you say hey or hi? It looks at exactly how you sign off.
And then it distills all of those linguistic quirks into a dedicated markdown file. This file basically becomes your permanent writing profile.
Exactly. It acts as a hard set of system instructions overlaying the base model. When you combine this profile with the data from Clay, the automated workflow becomes incredibly potent.
Walk me through that.
So Clay finds a highly relevant lead, say a VP of marketing. Claude reads the recent news about that company's new product launch.
And Claude references your specific markdown file to figure out how you would talk about that product launch.
Right. It drafts a highly personalized email. It references their recent Series B funding round. It uses your exact sentence structures and tone. And instead of just sending it blindly, it saves it as a draft directly in your Gmail interface, ready for your final human review.
Can it genuinely capture the subtle, messy quirks of how a real human writes?
It really can. It adopts your pacing, your weird comma habits, and the exact casual phrases you naturally lean on every day.
Exactly. It mimics your actual tone and common phrases.
Yeah.
That markdown file is the crucial missing link. It is the difference between spam and a genuine connection. We are going to take a very quick break right here.
Smells good.
All right, we are back. So if you are tracking the build, we have our assets, our leads, and our human-sounding outreach running smoothly. But we hit a massive structural wall when we try to scale this. Chat interfaces are inherently temporary.
They are completely ephemeral by design. You ask a complex question, you generate incredible insights, and the moment you close that browser tab, the data just vanishes. The slate is wiped clean.
If you are actually running a business, your system needs long-term memory. It needs a permanent home to track who replied, who bounced, and what phase of the pipeline a lead is currently sitting in.
That introduces our fourth layer, Supabase. If Clay is the research lab, Supabase is the permanent brain. It provides a real, structured PostgreSQL database that Claude can read and write to dynamically.
It gives the system an enduring memory that persists across different chat sessions. The sources detailed a really elegant three-part workflow to illustrate how this works in practice.
Yeah, so the workflow starts with automated data collection. You set up a scheduled CR-on task. For instance, you might configure a script to run every morning at 7 a.m. that scrates a specific YouTube channel.
Okay.
It gathers the raw metrics: views, likes, engagement rates, and comment sentiment.
Then Claude takes that fresh data payload and stores it directly into the structured tables inside Supabase.
And this is where the user experience transforms. Rather than making you log into a separate database management tool to view that information, Claude generates a live dashboard displaying that data right inside the chat window.
And because it generates a live artifact, which is just an interactive mini app you can use right inside the chat, you aren't just looking at static text, you are interacting with a functional interface.
The visual component makes the data actionable. The sources gave another great example regarding community management. They built a membership dashboard.
Right.
It tracked member names, their associated email addresses, the exact date they joined, and their calculated lifetime value.
You can visualize your entire business health without leaving the conversation. But the sources noted that this dashboard isn't just a read-only display. It is a two-way system.
This is the architectural breakthrough. Most AI integrations can pull data and show it to you, but very few can push manual corrections back to the source securely.
Whoa. Imagine scaling to 1 billion queries.
Hmm.
Or just tracking your entire business from one chat window. It completely collapses the traditional software stack.
It completely changes how you interact with back-end architecture. Let's say you are looking at a video ideas table rendered inside the chat. You decide an idea is ready to go. You click a cell on that visual dashboard. You manually change the status drop-down from draft to published.
If I manually change a status on the visual dashboard, does the underlying database instantly update?
It does. It immediately fires that status change back to the server, so your records are always perfectly synced without any extra steps.
Got it. It acts as a two-way remote control. We don't even need to know SQL. We don't need to log into the database backend. We just click a button in the chat and the API handles the update.
You manage complex backend state changes through a conversational interface. It reduces the friction of database management to practically zero.
We have built a remarkably robust system so far. We have design, research, voice, and permanent memory. But in the real world, things break. edge cases exist. What happens when your workflow relies on a crucial niche application that simply doesn't have a native Claude connector yet?
It is the most common roadblock in automation. You map out this beautiful system, you go to connect your favorite niche CRM or community platform, and it's simply not on the supported list. Your workflow hits a dead end.
That brings us to our fifth and final structural layer, Zapier MCP. This acts as the universal safety net for the entire system.
Zapier is essentially the ultimate translator. By connecting Claude to Zapier via an MCP, you instantly bridge the AI to over 9,000 different external applications.
Now, a developer might listen to this and say, well, why use Zapier? Just build a custom MCP server for that specific app.
In theory, yes. But let's look at the reality of running a business. Building a custom integration is a heavy developer lift. You have to write Node or Python scripts. You have to manage complex API endpoint documentation.
You have to handle OAuth token refreshes. You have to debug network errors. Non-technical founders do not have the bandwidth for that level of engineering.
Engineering time is expensive. Maintenance is even more expensive. Zapier provides a pre-built, heavily tested pathway that abstracts all of that complexity away from the user.
And it does that through an MCP server, basically a secure bridge, letting AI talk directly to your external tools. Zapier handles the security and the API handshakes automatically.
It standardizes the protocol. Zapier worries about how to talk to the specific app, and Claude only has to worry about talking to Zapier.
It's like having a universal adapter when your plug doesn't fit the wall. You don't need to rewire the entire house. You just plug it into the adapter and the current flows.
The sources provided a perfect, practical example of this. A creator had a raw CSV file containing 15 fake leads. They needed to get those specific subscribers uploaded into their Beehive newsletter platform.
And crucially, Beehive does not currently have a native direct connector built into Claude.
Right. So they routed the action through Zapier. The creator uploaded the CSV file into the chat. Claude read the file, parsed the rows, and automatically mapped the names and emails to the correct data fields. It then fired the payload through the Zapier MCP, adding those 15 leads directly into the Beehive's database.
And the user never once had to open the Beehive application or mess with CSV import mapping screens.
It all executed silently in the background. The sources also mentioned using this exact same method to connect apps like School for Community Management or SynthFlow for Voice AI.
Right.
These are highly specific tools that normally sit completely outside the standard AI ecosystem.
Does this mean non-technical users can finally bypass complex API integrations?
Totally. You just tell the AI what you want to happen, and the system handles the entire technical handshake in the background without writing any code.
Yeah, it totally removes the developer bottleneck.
For sure.
It effectively opens up the entire internet to natural language commands. If an app has an API, Claude can now control it.
It makes the system infinitely adaptable. You are no longer constrained by official partnerships or native support lists.
Let's step back for a minute and look at this massive structure we have just built together. We started with a simple text box, and we engineered an entire digital workforce.
It is a profound synthesis of capabilities. None of these tools are particularly magical in isolation. The magic is in the connective tissue.
Higgsfield gives Claude hands to design visual assets. Clay gives it eyes to research targeted pipelines. Gmail gives it your exact human voice to build trust. Soup Eyes gives it a permanent, structured memory to track complex states. And Zapier gives it a universal passport to interact with the rest of the internet.
When you stack these layers together, and especially when you introduce scheduled tasks that trigger these workflows automatically, you cross a definitive threshold.
Claude is no longer just a chatbot waiting for a prompt. It becomes a persistent operating system for your business.
It transitions from a reactive tool to a proactive agent. It manages data, executes campaigns, and updates your backend while you are focused on high-level strategy. It is a fundamental paradigm shift in how solo founders and small teams operate.
So how should you actually approach this? The worst thing you can do is try to build all 5 layers by tomorrow morning. Start small.
Definitely.
Pick just one connector. Maybe start with the Gmail Markdown file. Build one single reliable workflow. Test it thoroughly until you trust it. Then slowly start stacking the next tool on top. Let the system grow organically alongside your business needs.
You have to build confidence with the basic mechanics before you introduce complex automation chains. If the foundation is solid, the scaling really takes care of itself.
But I want to leave you with a final provocative thought, something to mull over as you start building. We are actively giving these AI systems permanent memories. We are giving them highly customized human-sounding voices. We are giving them the ability to trigger actions across thousands of interconnected apps entirely without our manual input.
Yes.
What happens when your fully autonomous Claude system inevitably starts negotiating terms via email with another company's fully autonomous Claude system?
That is the fascinating, slightly terrifying frontier we are rushing toward.
It brings us right back to where we started. If we finally stop treating AI like a simple search engine, we might just look up and find we have built a truly autonomous business partner. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.